Hey there, my Webflow friends. Back today. We're gonna do just a kind of simple little MAST build here. I have this design from that actually Webflow provided to use with their Figma to Webflow plugin. So here's just a kind of a law office design done by the talented Skylar Kitchen, I believe, from Webflow. We're just gonna kind of borrow this design and we're gonna build it out using Mast. We're not gonna do like a straight one-to-one kind of worry about like super everything this build. This is gonna be more to just kind of let's show you how like the layout system in Mast works using the rows and columns. It's pretty straightforward layout here. So I will link this Figma file in the description of this video. So if you want to take a peek at it yourself, I think once we're done here, I'll also make this a clonable so you can dig into the clonable itself. But let's go ahead and we're going to just jump over to Webflow. So I've already duplicated the Mast kind of starter clone project, went in, uploaded the fonts I wanted to use, and whatnot. We're not going to run through that. That's boring. Nobody wants to see me updating the style guide. I think you can figure that out. But what I have done, one thing I like to do when using Mast, actually a little, maybe not so much a secret, but a cheat, like nav bars. I don't want to spend time building a nav bar from scratch. Honestly, I'm just using Rayloom component. Rayloom's got all these nice nav bars built. I'm not going to rebuild it. I'm not going to really rebuild the nav bar using Mast anyway, because personally I like to use the native Webflow navbar element itself, and Rayloop's got a ton of those. So I just used the first one they have, navbar one, popped in a logo, and just put a couple of navbar links there, and cool, that's done, right? I just set the container size to match the design, which I think the container is 1200 pixels, if I remember correctly. Let's double check here. If we just look at, yeah, 1200. So I just made an navbar 1200 pixels, which is 75 rem max width, with a width of 90%, which is going to match our container here inside Mast. So anyway, so there's an nav bar, page wrapper, and then here in page main, let's get started here. Okay, we're going to just drop in a section component, and let's just open this up. And we're going to give that a class of section, which is a predetermined class inside of Mast itself. If we go over to the settings here, you'll see it's got the HTML tag for setting all set up. And then each section in Mast out of the box comes with 8 rem top and bottom padding. Obviously, you can adjust that to whatever you want. Not sure what this design is currently, but we're just going to leave that for now. So we have our section. Inside the section, we're going to place another div block. And oops, sorry. Let's go ahead and just open this so you can see what happens. So there's our div. We're just going to give it a class, and I'm going to give it a container. So this is container class here is a pre-built class inside the Mast system. As you can see, it's got its auto margin spacing. It's 90%. The max width I've already changed again to that 1200 pixels or the 75 rem. So our container here is matching the navbar container now. So inside that container, we're just going to go ahead and start off by, let's place another div, and we're going to give that the class of row. So in Mast, the whole layout system starts with a row, which takes up the entire container. And inside it, we can put in our columns. So the Mast has the 12 column system. So if you can kind of visualize inside this row, there are 12 columns in it. But let's say if I hop over real quick to this here, let's start with the heading and before we do the picture. So as you can see, like obviously the H1 heading and the paragraphs, these paragraphs are going to be broken up into 2 columns, right? So let's head over back into Webflow. So inside this row, I'm going to place a div. I'm going to give it the class of column. So now this one column is taking up all 12 columns inside this row unless we tell it otherwise. What I'm going to do first, I'm just going to drop a heading in. So we have an H1. Let's go ahead and just copy this heading, go back to Webflow, paste that in. Cool. So I guess there's probably a couple different ways we could handle this. If we have back over to the design, you can see that obviously the heading is not taking up 100% width. So we could either wrap this in like a heading wrapper and give it a max width if we wanted. I'm just going to kind of simplify things for the sake of this video and just shrink this column to kind of match what the design is. So on top of my column class already, I'm going to put a pre-built kind of combo class, and I'm going to call it column large, and let's pick eight columns. So we hit enter. So now this column is taking up 8 of those 12 columns that live inside this row. So kind of as we resize down, it's going to kind of shrink like that. You know, if that's the designer's intention or not, I don't know, but that's how we're going to go with it. I think we have to fix something with our nav bar here. We're going to take off this 5% that was left over from the random component, and now we're good. All right, so we got our heading. I am going to actually do another div here. I'm going to put another row underneath. Inside, I'm going to place a div, call it column, and let's go ahead and place a paragraph in that column, okay? So let's jump back to the Figma file. We're just going to copy this kind of first paragraph here and go back here, paste, and there was a break somewhere. I think it was right here. So I'm just going to go shift return to give that break. All right, so now easily I just have a column, just this column. I haven't done anything else. I'm just going to Command D and duplicate it. And now we have 2 columns with no other kind of combo class going on, because these 2 columns are just going to take up as much width as they can inside that row. So as we kind of shrink here, it's just gonna stay 2 columns there. We're gonna probably change it once it hits mobile because that looks terrible. But as you can see, if you go down to the mobile portrait, it already is kind of going how we want. But so let's do this. So I'm gonna do this first column. I'm gonna say column, and we want column large is desktop, column medium or MD is tablet, column small SM I think is mobile landscape, and then column extra small is portrait. So what we want is column small, and we're just going to force it to take up the whole row here. So if we go back down, here is column small. Now since that first one is taking up that 12, the second column is just going to kind of take up as much space as it can. So we don't necessarily have to put that combo class here as well. We can, it's not going to hurt. But so there we have very quickly the top heading and 2 columns here. If we just go to preview, we resize, everything's kind of flowing as we want it. Minus, I think we can adjust this heading here when we hit, I think on tablet, we'll just say tablet. So we'll go back to this heading inside of this column here. So on desktop, on the large, it's doing 8 columns. Let's do column medium, so the tablet breakpoint, and we're just going to make it go all the way. So we'll hope for tablet. There we go. It's going straight across. And as we go down, everything is just taking up the entire space there. But what we can do here is we kind of get this bigger extra space here on when it's going kind of flowing to vertical. That's because these columns here have a bottom margin on it out of the box. Depending on what you're building, you could just get rid of that completely. But we can put on top of this column here a utility class utility MB0, this global combo class here. I'm going to pop that on there. And then we could do it the same on this one as well. U margin bottom 0. We potentially maybe don't even have to, but it depends what's going to go under it. So we'll see. So as I jump back over to the mobile design here, we'll see that space is now gone. If I go back to this column here, you see we have 0 margin bottom. If I clear out that class, you can see we're back to 40, but we're going to put that back on right there. All right, so there is that. Back in the design, we actually have this big image that is first. So let's go ahead and let's pop that in there. I think inside this container, I'm just going to put a div. And inside there, we're going to put the image. I've already uploaded all the images here. We're going to pull this just up to the top. And I already do have a class called image wrapper where I have the box shadows all put on already. It is a ton of them. You don't want to watch me do that, so I did that ahead of time. And for something like this, obviously in the design, let's hop back over. We have 80 pixels between this image and down here. There are kind of utility classes inside of MAST for adding margin bottom. Margin bottom, let's see, it's up to 3M, which is, let's do math, 3 times 16, it's 48. We want 80. So you could potentially like change this. You could change this margin class. You can add another one, but for this sake, we already have this image wrapped in a custom class. So let's just go ahead and put our 80 pixels of spacing on there. And one other thing we're going to do, because on this design, you'll see this image is pulled right up to the navigation panel here. Each section, like we kind of previously talked about, has padding on it. So here's where we're going to make our own kind of custom classes or combo classes. So we're going to go up into the style selector. I'm just going to make a CC for combo class, and we'll call it hero, which you can see I've already kind of done it before. I just set it to 0 using the combo class. So obviously we don't want to change it on all sections because we may want that top and bottom padding on the other sections there. So there we go. There is our hero section. Let's move on to the next section here. So again, search for Webflow section element, give it a class of section. Command K, we're going to add another div, and we're going to call that container. And let's go peek at the design again. So we have these 2 images here. Really, we could do, this could be part of this top section or the bottom section. Let's put these images in the top section here, actually, before we move on to that other section. So let's go back. We are in that first section here. Let's just go ahead and add another div and give it a row. And inside another div with a column. And let's go ahead and open this. So we have 2 images. So I'm going to put another div inside the column and give it that image wrapper class we have. It has the same box shadow on it. And we're going to pull in an image. And the image we want is one of these. So we got that. And again, I'm just going to duplicate that there. Let's see. Actually going to need to, we've lost our kind of bottom padding on these paragraphs. Above are these columns where we set it to margin bottom 0. Let's take it off for a second. And it looks like we're still going to need more room. So let's go back and peek. How far away are these? Sorry. Oh, that's the 80, 80 pixels. So actually, I think let's go, just for spacing wise, let's go ahead and take these images, and we are going to pop them in the next section just so we already have this spacing here. So at 80 pixels, top and bottom padding, let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is, let's take this, I'm going to do undo here just to take the margin bottom back off these columns right here. But we're going to take this picture row, I'm just going to pop that back into this other section. And we're going to change the top and bottom here. It looks like it's 80 pixels across the design. So it's 5 rand top and bottom. So now we have that nice space there. But in our design, again, these images are pulled to the top of the section. So we could, I think I'm going to do it, yeah. I'm going to kind of reuse this combo class, but let's call it something else since it's not hero anymore. I'll just do CC, I don't know, CC top, real creative. And go back to here, and we'll put that CC top so we can pull those images up like so. All right, and now we can add another row here. So add row, and let's just go ahead and look what we're doing here. So this time we have a heading, it looks like an H2, and then we have 3 columns that are, they have 80 between them. So let's just go ahead and set up the columns first and then work on the spacing. Let's copy this back to Webflow. All right, so in our row, actually, I think before we do that, let's just actually delete this. I think we might just go straight to adding a heading. H2, let's paste in our heading, and underneath that, we'll add our next row. Really no need to put this 2-word heading inside of its own kind of row container thingy. Save some divs here. And let's add another column. And let's see, I think inside the column we had a heading 3 and a paragraph. Let's go back to Figma. So we'll copy this. Stick with me as we bounce back and forth here. Paste. Copy paragraph. Paste. And then we also have a text link. Inside the MAST style guide, there is I think all links are already styled. So I'm not really going to even put the class on there. And it's just read more. Okay. All right. Read more. Oh, ream. Actually, I misspoke. I think we do have to put a class. We're going to put a class of link. There it is. All right, let's just go ahead and so we have 3 columns. Let's just duplicate it twice. And now we have our, without even telling it what to do, we have 3 columns taking up the entire space that we need. Let's go ahead and just change out the copy. Do this real quick. Copy, paste. This is all what you came here to see, is me copying and pasting stuff, right? I knew it. Last one. All right. So obviously we have not enough space between the heading and the kind of row here. Let's just take a peek and see what it actually is. So it's 30 to same thing was that. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to adjust. I had originally adjusted the um, default bottom margin on the H1 tag, which I think out of the box comes at 0.3 em in mass, but I went ahead and made it different just to adjust that. So maybe if let's just try the same thing here on the H2. We're just going to bump it up to um, 0.5, and if it kind of doesn't match quite as well, there's some more spacing I think we could do there. Especially since if we look down the footer, we're gonna be using that H2 again, but the spacing is different. So we might just give a little extra, make it a little extra space. Let's just undo that. Let's go back to what it was. And on this row here, maybe a U, oops, give it a U utility class and margin top 1. How about 2? U margin top 2. Oops. Margin top 2. I think that looks better. And really could likely leave it at that. Let's see. As you can see, I think we're going to have to change this as it's obviously our columns are taking different heights because of the content inside them. So let's see. Actually, the design has, I think, 80 spaced out. Yeah, 80. So the one thing we could do without even doing any kind of custom classes is we might go up to the row here. And we're going to just get rid of that margin first. We want row justify between. No, so just kind of playing with stuff to see. I forget what it even is now. So yeah, out of the box, we're getting, since these columns have 20 padding, we're getting 40 between each, and we kind of wanted it to double. But that would mean making these columns not as wide, which he has. Let's see what they have. Like, I mean, that's kind of a weird 346.67 width. We could give it a max width. I'm not sure it really matters. I mean, for the sake of argument, I'm going to say it looks fine how it is. We have our 3 columns. We go down to tablet. We're still at 3 columns, which is probably fine. But we're going to change it here. So on column small, SM, we want it to take up probably the whole thing. So 12. Again, column small 12. And you see the last one just pops over and does its thing. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Let's see, obviously, we're kind of jumping down to the smallest breakpoint here and just taking a look. I think I'm going to adjust this. This gap looks too big. I'm just going to go down to 2. And even like this margin bottom here, I think needs to go. So U margin bottom 0. Kind of pull those images. And let's change this image. We didn't change it. There we go. And let's preview just to see better. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think that'll work fine. Looking good. The only other issue was, let's undo this here, is because of this kind of middle column doesn't have as much height because it's got less content when the screen gets bigger. Kind of that this read more button looks a little funky. So if we really wanted to worry about it too much, we could put a, oops, sorry. There we go. I don't know how I did that. We could put a div inside. What's going on here? Okay, div. All right. My head is too big. Anyway, get off of there. I want to take this. Stop. Let's just do this since it's difficult. We could do a div and just kind of wrap these here. I don't believe there's like a yeah, there is a utility class for display flex, but it's going to just kind of playing around with here. No, we don't want to do that. I think because we're going to reuse it, we could just say make our own combo class and call it specialization wrapper, and we'll give it a flex vertical. And I think we can do margin top auto. Let's make sure this is, I have to do 100% height. There we go. All right, so we're just giving it flex 100% to take up the entire height, giving an auto top margin to this link so it always sticks on the bottom. Technically, we would just use that same specialization wrapper div on everything, but for the sake of this video, we'll just keep moving on since these are kind of the same. Cool. And then we'll just kind of go do this little footer thing. So let's set up a little structure and the background. So again, we'll close this out on, we're gonna add a section. And actually, we'll call it section, even though it's actually obviously a footer. We could, yeah, let's just do that. Let's get rid of that. Let's delete that. And we'll do another div. We'll call it footer. And let's just go into the settings panel. And we're going to set that HTML tag to footer. So we're being nice and accessible here. And then we do have a custom class here, a footer. So we could essentially just go and set our background colors and whatnot, but let's do a utility class of background. I think we have black just to set that. And we can match the rest of our design by calling, let's go back to the footer here and giving it that 5 rem padding that matches the other sections. And okay, so we need a div for our container. And in our container, we will do another div for row. And then let's hop back to design again. So we have 2 columns. One is for the picture, and then another is for obviously all the other stuff here. So to me, that looks like, let's get that 80 again. So to me, this looks like we'll call, I don't know, let's guess 3 columns for the picture, and we'll do like 3 and 7 just to kind of play around with this gap here. Yeah, all right. So container open, row, let's drop in a div, call it column. Open this up so you can see it. Let's call this column large 3. Select the existing combo class. And let's just drop our image in there. Technically, I think, in the design. Let's see if there was. In the design, there is a drop shadow on it. I don't know that you're really going to see it in there, so we can go ahead and just use our custom class we had for image wrapper that has that on it already, and we'll just dump that image in there. I don't think that looks big enough. Let's try column large 4. That might look better. Go back to this row here and add another div and call it column. But we want this to be column large. We'll try 6 to start. And I'm going to go back up to this row and give it that row justify probably between, so it pushes that column away from each other, and I think that's too big of a space, so maybe column large 7. I think that looks more ideal. All right, so what do we need in here? We need a heading, a paragraph, and kind of a read more link to start. So inside this column here, I'm just going to place a heading. See, that's H2. We want it to be white, so we'll put a, what is it? I think it's U text white. So utility combo, or utility class of text white, change our default color styles, and is to get a free consultation. Oops, sorry, it'll peek into my messiness there. Okay, I think we just add a paragraph. Again, U text white. Let's go over and find that. Paste. And then we also need a text link. Call it link. And we need U text white again. Read more. Is that what it said? Did say that. All right. But again, we kind of want this extra spacing here. We could maybe even give it the, you could use the U margin top too. No, it's not going to work. Is it? Margin top. Yeah, utility class isn't going to work. It doesn't look terrible. Let's just leave it for now. I don't want to get too nitty gritty here. Let's kind of just finish up what we had going on here. So let's see. So actually, what we want to do is the second column, we want kind of all the footer links to be inside that column. So what we can do is, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go into this column, and inside this column, we're going to place a div, and we're going to put another row inside the column. So we're kind of like going inception levels deep here on the column system, right? We are placing a column inside this, placing a row inside this column that is on desktop maxed out to 7 of the 12 columns inside its parent row. But now this row is going to take up 12 columns inside of its parent, which is this column. So we can still break up the 12 columns inside of this space here. So inside this row, back in our design, looks like we need 4. We need 4 columns. So let's just go ahead and build that out here. So add a div, column, and let's just go ahead and duplicate. So we got 4 columns going on here. Inside the first column, we need, let's just put a text block. And I think what we're going to do, so we have these headings here, company. Let's go ahead and we're going to give this text block a custom class, and we'll say footer, I don't know, list heading. And we can change the color here to white. And we'll go and paste our text in there. And below that now is going to be kind of our footer links. And let's just go ahead and actually let's zoom in here. Oops, sorry. Let's see what the spacing is. 24, 8, 16. So we got 16 between the header and the list, and inside these are 8. All right. So let's go ahead and, what did I say, 16? We just put a 1 rem margin bottom on that footer list heading. And then in this column, let's go ahead and add we'll do a text link. And let's call this footer link. And it is also white. Let's have no decoration. Let's display. Let's do, I think it was 0.5 around top and bottom. 4. And we need 4 of them. About, I think it's also a different color too. We set it up at that mid gray. Let's just go our values, our history by the numbers. History by the numbers, I think it said. By the numbers. All right. I think what I'm going to just delete these other columns, and we're going to take this one and just duplicate that to make it easier. And then we do need quite a bit of space here. So another 80. I guess it's going to be, do it a few different ways, I think. We could even I'm just trying to think of like utility classes used. Obviously, we have this utility um, margin top 3 global class here. It's not as much space as we are looking for, I think, when it comes to the design. So we could either change this to say, we know we're going to use this. Let's say we want, what is, we want 80 pixels, I think it was. What is that in M? So that's 5. If we want to reuse it, really, I think for this purpose here, I would just rename this class to UMT5 so we can reuse it. But otherwise, you can go ahead in the style guide, add what you want, or we wrap this in a custom class and you can control it that way. But I think that works well like so. The only other thing is we don't really want, let's check this size here. Maybe that's it. These are 14 pixels. Maybe that'll help. So let's do our footer link to 14 pixels. Yeah, that looks better. We're just going to skip copy pasting all this stuff here. As you can see, we're just focusing on the layout here, right? So there's desktop. Let's go check it on tablet. I think things are looking a little cramped here on tablet. So maybe let's just take this image here, column, medium, and just go full width. And we're going to do the same with this one, medium 12, get a free consultation. Whether or not this picture needs to be that big, I don't know. But let's keep looking down there. So that looks good there. Whether or not we want to worry about too much about mobile landscape, I think this is a lot of stuff jammed in here. So let's go ahead and give this column small. How about 6? Small 6. I'll do this one too. Column small 6. And the other two are just kind of fitting in there. I think that looks better. And then we will have to come here and say column extra small, extra small 12, and I'll force the others there. Cool. I think that looks pretty good. What else? Is there anything else in the design? We could do this little nonsense here. Sure. I didn't export these, so let's just go ahead and export those now. And let's give a peek into here. Can't get it. We'll figure it out. Let's copy that. All right. Sorry. Finishing up here. Really, the rest of this isn't much to do with MAST. Actually, let's just set up that kind of bottom wrapper there. So we got a row here. We will do another row. Inside that row, we want a column, and this column is going to have a text block. And let's see, new text white. This is just kind of that legal thing there. Really, for this, I would probably, let's just check what it, yeah, I would probably just give it a, no, you know what? Let's not do it custom size. Let's do new text white. First, let's do paragraph. I don't know, maybe it's a 0.9 with a new text white. Obviously, we could adjust that to actually match what would be in design, but for this purpose here, we're not going to really care too much. We got another column though. This column is going to hold the social, so we need 4. Actually, I think we're just going to, let's try it. Let's do, that column has, it's going to need its own row inside that column with another column. It's actually going to have 4 columns in it, but I think we want these columns to be column shrink. Not entirely sure. Let's upload our assets here first. Downloads. Sorry for the mess. I can't open it from here. All right, 1 second. Let's do this. And we'll just take all those and dump them in that folder I had. Now we can just import these as SVGs. Normally I would copy that SVG code inside of Figma itself, so I can control like hover states and whatnot, but we are just going to do this for this sake. I think we had Facebook. This is going to duplicate. Facebook, Twitter. LinkedIn and the Gram. So these columns are at column shrink, but like we've we've we very much could set it up in this column layout. I don't even know that we need shrink on it. I don't think it much matters, but let's set up this actual first row so that you can push these social media icons over. So again, we do that row justify between class. It didn't work. What did I? Ah, let's make this column shrink. All right, so we have this bottom row here, which contains like the legal copyright, and then we didn't set a size on that at all, but we did place the socials in this column and give it column shrink, so it only takes the size of what's inside of it. And then on its parent row, using that row justify between class, just to obviously push everything that way. We really could kind of get into spacing these out differently. Honestly, I would probably just take all those images. Um, Actually, they're not going to be images. They're going to be, yeah, let's do this. Let's not use the column. We could use a column layout here, but I think to simplify things, what I would do, so I'm going to take those, I'm going to delete all this. We're actually going to add a link block because we want these to be links to the social platforms, right? Again, I would actually put embeds in these link blocks with the SVG code in it so we could control its color on hover with the current color trick. So we don't really even need this row thing. So what we're gonna backtrack. I'm gonna take these out. I'm gonna take this row out of there, and let's wrap it in a div block. Just place these all in here, and we'll give this footer social wrapper, and that way we can kind of space them out a little bit. I don't know, 0.5. That's too much. I guess we could peek here and see what he's got. 12. 12 pixels, so even more, so 12. Cool. Let's see, we could also, there is that kind of divider line. We could just do footer divider, 100%. I'm guessing it's 1 pixel. I can't, let's see, stop. It looks like you just set as a stroke. So that's a couple of different ways. We could also set it as a stroke by giving this, we could really just skip this whole kind of row column layout thing down here and give it a custom class of footer legal wrapper, and we could put the stroke on top of it. Or we could just give our little divider line here. Where'd it go? No, I want that not take 50%. And that's 40. We can just give a bottom padding to here. Let's just keep it at 40 pixels. You know, like everything in web development, there's more than one way to do things, right? So we could have done that in multiple ways, but hey, that's what it is for now. All right, so let's move down. I think we could even take this and we'll say 40 here as well. Down here, that still looks fine. And yeah, and we had our socials adapt because it's in the column system there. So I think that looks pretty good. Obviously, if we're going to really try to match pixel for pixel with the design, we're going to go through really just kind of bang out the spacing. But really, how quickly we put that together was just using the column row system for MAST. Super easy to do, super easy to just kind of then re-replicate these layouts if we need them. Obviously, this is just a really simple kind of explanation of everything. But just keep in mind that, I think the big rule with MAST is there's that 80%, 20% rule. Like 80% of what you need is already here built into the MAST CSS framework system. The other 20%, custom classes. So don't be afraid to make custom classes where you need to. I mean, everything is not supposed to be able to fit in the system. So obviously, don't feel bad about making a class. If we wanted to control the spacing even more, especially when it gets down to kind of mobile responsiveness, we could wrap stuff in a custom class and affect padding that way, or make additional utility classes that you're thinking you could use. So it's really adaptable to what you need your project for. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you like this kind of content. If you'd like to see more, what kind of troubles you're having with mass, I'd love to hear it. Again, I'll make this into a clonable, leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. And otherwise, I appreciate you hanging out with me and watching me just kind of work through building this little landing page here. All right. Take care, everybody.